Good morning. Yeah, we're still morning. Good morning. Today we are making packet number 9, which is due next week Friday on March 21st before spring break. Our first page says the dance company held auditions to fill 3 spots in the company. The first round of auditions, 2/3 of the dancers were cut. After the second round, only 1/4 of the remaining dancers made it to the third round, and 2 were cut after the third round, leaving 3 moving on to the fourth round. How many dancers attended the auditions? So when I looked at this, I made my bar, and I said, okay, first round, 2/3 of the dancers were cut. So I divided my bar up into thirds, right? Because 2/3 are cut, so I know 2/3 are cut. This third moves on. After the second round, only 1/4 of the remaining dancers made it to the third round. What do I want to cut it into? Fourths. But only 1/4 makes it to that third round. So I'm left with this section. And it says 2 were cut and 3 moved on to the fourth round. So how many is that all together that made it to that round? 5. I had 4 sections that were the same amount. So I can fill in those spots. Then this whole section was the same amount as this, was the same amount as this. So I can figure out how many were in each section. So we want to know the total amount all together. Our second page word problem, let me scroll up to that one. Andy is going to, oh, this is the tricky one. Andy's going to take a 30-question text in which he earns 9 points for every correct answer, loses 5 points for every wrong answer, and loses 1 point for every question he doesn't answer. Is it possible for Andy to earn a score of 0 on the test? If so, how? So I've had several people turn in their packets and say, no, he just doesn't answer any questions. He gets a 0. If he doesn't answer a question, he loses a point. So if he answers no questions, he's at -30, not 0. So you need to play around with your numbers. If he gets 10 right, that's 90 points. So how many wrong would he have to get? How many not answered? So it balances out. Your wrong and not answered balances out with the right. So, spoiler, 10 is not the correct answer for any of them. I use that as an example. It's a guess and check. Okay? I had to go through several different guesses before I found one that works. There is more than one correct answer. Find one that works for you. Do not copy a friend's. You must show how you got your answer. And don't just say, oh, I'm just going to copy all of their work and slap the answer on there. Because are you learning if you do that? Sometimes I might see people copying, and then there's consequences for copying. I can't be at all places at all times. This is an honor system that we have in math because I want you to learn. Do not let friends copy off of your papers and do not copy off of friends. Okay? We want to learn our math. If we're copying, we are not learning. So play around with those numbers yourself. Find the answer yourself. Our next problem is the 5-card challenge. Be careful that you only use these top numbers 1 time each. Use different operations. See if you can get that 5-card challenge. Use all 5 cards. This one, we need to complete the full table. So, how many green are in our first figure? Somebody tell me what to write. How many purple? 8, so there are 9 total. How many green in the second figure? 4. How many purple? 32. And so there's 36 altogether. In the third figure, we've got 9. green and 72 purple. So we have 81 total. And in our fourth figure, we have 16 green, 128 purple, 144 total. When I look at some of these numbers, which of my favorite numbers are on there? Harper? I see perfect squares. Perfect squares help me to find patterns. 1 squared is 1. What's 4? 2 squared. What's 9? What's 16? Purple doesn't have perfect squares, but let's look at the total blocks. What's 9? What's 36? What's 81? What's 144? There is a rule for finding the purple, if you really try to find that rule. I found the rule. Or you could follow the green pattern, follow the total blocks pattern with those perfect squares, use that to subtract to find your purple. Always look for patterns that you can see. Perfect squares show up a lot. Next page. Find the area of the entire figure. So we need to figure out what that full side length is. If we know half of it is 6, we can find that full side length. It is a square, so we know that. How to find the area of the figure. So the area of our rectangle is length times width. So you can fill in that. Then it says area of the shaded, oh goodness. There is no formula to find that goofy shape. But what shape can we find? Robbie? Circle. We have a half circle and a half circle. 2 half circles make a full circle. To find the area of a circle, it is pi r squared. R is the radius. The radius goes from the middle to the outside. So, oh, look at that. We know our radius number. We can figure out the white. That equals our white shape. So if we know the full shape, we can take away the white shape and we are left with our shaded shape. Next page. Next page, we have to make a net for it. Some of us that turned in missed that we had to draw and label our net. So you have to open up that box. So you can always look at the back, look at what our nets look like. Think about what the net of that box would look like. Label it correctly. Where would your 5s be? Where would your 9s be? Where would your X's be? Then we need to find the surface area. In order to find the surface area, we need to find what that X is. Because we know the volume is 360. Volume equals length times width times height. So if we know 2 of them, we can do opposite operations to find the missing side. Then to find the surface area, you find the area of each of those sides and add them together. I had a few people that found what X is, and you put that as your answer. That's not the surface area. You use the X to help you find those areas so you can add them together to find the surface area. Surface area is just finding all 6 sides areas and adding them up. Then we have our volume page. So we can fill in those formulas if you haven't filled them in yet. Here, the volume of a rectangle is length times width times height. The cube, length times width times height, or we could say side cube, because they are all the same length. So that's why Mr. Schultz didn't give you any of those width, lengths, or heights. because they're all the same number. So what number multiplied 3 times gets us 27? Spoiler, it's not 9. I had a few people giving me 9s. That's what it was the last time. We have a different volume this time, friends. So, not going to be the volume that we had for the side legs that we had the last time, because we have a different volume. For the triangular prism, our formula is 1/2 times length times width times height. Our pyramid is length times width times height divided by 3. Our cylinder is pi r squared times the height. The cone is pi r squared times the height divided by 3. And our sphere is 4/3 times pi times r cubed. You need to do at least 3 of them. Challenge yourself to do more. Okay, it's just going to help you get more comfortable using those formulas. Use those opposite operations with the numbers that Mr. Schultz gives you to find the one that's missing. Next page. Using our logic, 1, 2, 3, 4 in each of our boxes. You cannot repeat a number in any of the lines. So we've got boxes going this way using 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got our lines going this way and our lines going this way. You cannot repeat 1, 2, 3, or 4. They're used one time each. Fill it in so they're all used just one time in each of those ways. Next page is our graph that we need to make. You can use the empty space down here. You can get a big sheet of paper and draw it on a big sheet of paper. Things to remember. You need to label. So if you're drawing your graph, you're writing what you're putting on the bottom. Numbers go up. What are those numbers? What are these things we put on the bottom? That's labeling it. So it's not just putting fall, cut, birth. What are those? What is that x-axis? What is that y-axis? What are those numbers? What do they stand for? And then don't forget that there is a question. What is the total number of injuries that occurred? Most people are doing bar graphs for this. I've had a few people do a line graph. Bar graphs are the easiest for this, but if you did the line graph, I gave you credit for it. And our last page is the polynomial, and it's a fun word we get to fill in this week. So we have the word hey, sliding over all of our pieces to make them all fit perfectly. No flipping, no turning, just sliding them over. And that is our packet number 9. That is due next week, Friday. If you have questions on the packet, make sure you come see me and we can get that answered. Have a wonderful day.